Alright, so I just got done watching this movie, Snowpiercer. And I must say, this movie is so full of propaganda and symbolism that it really just blew my mind. I just had to do a video on this. I mean, the movie itself wasn't horrible, left a lot of questions, but to me it seemed like the movie wasn't about anything more than getting out some of these hidden messages and really just in your face propaganda. So I want to talk about this, break down some of the movie scenes and some of the overall deeper meanings. Some pretty obvious, some not. Let's get started about how the movie starts out. Alright, first thing we are told is about the global warming propaganda that's being pushed and how the governments all over the world were using CW7 and spraying it up into the upper layers of the atmosphere to basically use it to cool the earth down. And this is a screenshot from the movie at the very beginning of it, literally showing chemtrails being sprayed. So it's just right there in your face. You can go and look up in the sky and see this very thing every day, all the time. And they even show it start fading out into the clouds like it does in real life. But it seemed that it went very wrong and cooled the earth too much and basically put the earth into a new ice age. And this person, Wilford, had foresaw this happening and built this train, aka Ark, to save humanity. What we're seeing is a telling basically of Noah's Ark, retold in a twisted way.
Mr. Wilford knew that CW7 would freeze the world. So what did the prophetic Mr. Wilford invent to protect the chosen from that calamity? Rumble, rumble, rattle, rattle, it will never die!
There is literally so much in this movie. I don't even know if I caught it all or could explain it all. But I'm just going to pick out certain sections here and just show you and give you an idea of what's in this movie. You can go watch it for yourself and see the full picture. But I think just what I show you here would be enough to really make you go, This to me almost looks like a nod to Hitler. If you notice, they're almost doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger pose. And Arnold Schwarzenegger has been known to quote pro-Hitler and pro-Nazi dictator type quotes. We know that he wants to be president, so I just found that pretty interesting that that little gesture was thrown in there. Another thing to bring up about this classroom scene is this teacher seems to be like the religious person who is brainwashing the children and pumping them with propaganda to worship the train, to worship the engine, to worship Wilford. And you really get this like she's not only this over religious type person, but almost like demonically possessed in a way if you just watch her eyes, and it's very weird. But just take a look at this scene here.
The engine is eternal, yes, the engine
So not only was that scene showing basically what they're doing to our children in schools now, brainwashing them into this propaganda, into this fake history that we live in. But then when you actually look at the engine, when they get to the front, this engine they're worshiping, it really does kind of look like more like a gate, a portal, you know, a dimensional type gate, which gets into another scene here coming up. We see in this scene as Wilford is explaining how everyone has their place on the train, aka society. This kid, without even thinking for himself, like as under a spell or a brainwashing, gets into this contraption that comes out of this gate and enters into it, almost as if it's a sacrifice to the train, the engine, a child sacrifice. It's so evil. Which brings me to this part of the movie, where he's explaining what they had to do in order to survive and what they became when they first got onto the train. And I want to show you how this kind of relates to what I was just saying about the sacrifice and the child sacrifice. You know, even though this all isn't in like order, the message is clearly there.
People taste like. I know that babies taste best.
Now here's the part in the movie where they just throw it right in your face what they're really doing in the real world with your brain as far as the media goes, the mind control. And right here, they're just going to tell you exactly how it is. And this is for all those people that, you know, like to say, well, you got how they point out these hoaxes and all these things, like what's going on in Ferguson and how they're trying to start these race wars and all that. And that's exactly what he's about to tell you that they do. They manipulate people's minds and they cause all this stuff to happen and stage it. Now listen to what they say.
I mean, as Gillian well understood, we need to maintain a proper balance of anxiety and fear, chaos and horror in order to keep life going. And if we don't have that, we need to invent it. In that sense, the great Curtis revolution you invented was truly a masterpiece.
And there you have it. Order out of chaos. Problem, solution. It's all there. They cause the problems. You've already had the solution, and they look like the heroes. Exactly how they do it. Which gets into the protein bars that they feed these people. He keeps finding messages in them. Well, it turns out these messages end up being done on purpose by this Wilford, this elitist, to cause this uprising. It's all orchestrated. It's all about population control on the train. They cause these uprisings in order to maintain population. Just like how these elites get these wars, instigate these wars to start, and then they send what they call the poor, you know, the non-elite people to fight these wars and die. It's just a way of population control. At the same time, you know, they're gaining power and wealth, but it's so deep. But it also can get into the whole GMO food too, because they find out that this protein stuff is nothing more than roaches, cockroaches being ground up and fed to them. and why the elite are eating steaks and all kinds of good things like sushi and all the real food, and the peons are getting passed down bugs. Just like the elite aren't eating the GMOs, but we are. I could go on and on with this movie, but I just wanted to point out some of the things that really stuck out. And just to show you that they are showing things they're doing to us right now in this matrix, this false reality that we live in, and they're showing us in these movies the truth of what they're really doing and how they're doing it. It's like they're bragging. So I just want you guys to open up your eyes and see when you're watching these films. I mean, it's the same storylines over and over again, just redone, reconstructed differently. I mean, just like the Hunger Games, just like the TV shows like The 100, where they're in space in a thing called the Ark, and they got to go back down to Earth, and it just all these apocalyptic movies, they're all the same story. And then we really just got to look deeper for these meanings. So, I felt the need to make this one because this one was pretty in your face and some pretty disturbing things in it. So, check it out for yourself. It's worth the watch.